Coming up, one Russian paper interviews the spirit of Lenin. Yes, things are getting rather weird here. And Russians moving to Belarus to escape internet restrictions at home. Good morning from Moscow, everyone. A lot to get through today. This morning's Russian newspapers show once again that, although there are definite red lines for the press here, no criticism of Vladimir Putin, no criticism of Russia's war on Ukraine, some criticism of the authorities is still permitted on certain subjects. A couple of good examples of that today. First, this editorial in Nezavisymaya Gazeta, which claims that Article 31 of the Russian Constitution, which on paper gives Russians the right to peaceful assembly, is being ignored. Rally to question officials seen as attempt to discredit the authorities. News from Kaliningrad region. Residents of Kholmogorovka village applied to the authorities to hold a rally on a number of local issues, but they were denied permission for a public event. Citizens wanted to ask public questions about why construction of a kindergarten and school is being delayed, while the construction of some industrial enterprise is being started. A reply from the Kaliningrad mayor's office, if of course it is genuine, allegedly directly stated that the application for the rally contains information discrediting the activities of state authorities and local self-government regarding the exercise of their powers. There is also this phrase: the purpose of the declared event does not comply with the Russian Constitution, violates prohibitions in the criminal and administrative legislation of the Russian Federation. The author believes this response is hinting at articles of Russia's administrative and criminal codes regarding discreditation of the Russian armed forces and fakes. He reminds readers that Article 31 of the Russian Constitution states Russian citizens shall have the right to assemble peacefully, without weapons, hold rallies, mass meetings and demonstrations, marches and pickets. He quotes too from the law on assemblies. The objective of the public event is to exercise the free expression and shaping of opinions and to put forward demands concerning various issues of political, economic, social and cultural life of the country and also issues of foreign policy. Just reminding people of these rights at a time of growing repression in Russia is quite something. But there's more. He writes that previously officials tried to justify their decisions not to allow a rally. COVID was a good reason. Now they're just threatening prosecution. Perhaps the authorities believe that in society there are already plenty of channels for feedback. Throughout the country there are digital regional management centres, local governors have their own social networks, opinion polls and elections on all levels are held regularly. This is all true, but perhaps it would be useful to recall that a few decades ago, those in power, on approximately the same territory as this, also seemed to have everything in order with the socio-political institutions through which the population was in contact with its leaders. Reading between the lines here, is that saying what happened to the USSR could happen again? The Soviet Union fell apart because of mistakes by those in power. Another interesting article today is this one in Moskovsky Komsomolets, a loyal pro-Kremlin daily which is critical today of how the authorities are trying to tighten control of cyberspace and force the new state-backed messenger Max on people. The authorities are introducing a national messenger into our lives. As its name suggests, a national messenger is a means of communication. But the process of communication with the population on the introduction of the national messenger into our lives is built on very strange principles. From time to time, the relevant body on state regulation of the internet utters something brief and mysterious, like a sphinx or the Delphic oracle, and refuses to add anything meaningful to the above. Trying to understand what is happening and what will happen, citizens have to be guided by the often contradictory statements of informed bloggers and Duma MPs. All this taken together causes the population to feel that we are not respected, that some strange games are being played with us. This in turn evokes reciprocal disrespect and a reciprocal readiness to respond to strange games from above with strange games from below. The authorities do not explain anything. The writer quotes Iran as an example of a country where attempts to control the internet failed to protect the leadership. Iran achieved significant success in fencing off its internet space from various insidious, without irony, foreign forces. But did this help Iran much when America and Israel began to systematically eliminate members of its top leadership? It turned out that all the restrictions did not work. Moreover, the country's technological backwardness didn't allow Iran to see that its entire leadership was being watched closely by the enemy. And the conclusion here is similar to that editorial in Независимая газета. We must avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. Once upon a time, the Soviet Union was the country that was the first to launch an artificial satellite and a man into space. And then the Soviet Union became a state that withdrew into itself and hopelessly lagged behind in the field of computer technology and in many other ways. While we're on the subject of the internet, according to a new survey quoted by Независимая газета, 3/4 of Russians see Belarus as an example of success and stability. Russians' interest in moving to Belarus is not because of the size of the pensions there, but the absence of mass internet restrictions so characteristic of today's Russia. Interest in moving to the neighbouring country is growing due to growing prohibitions in Russia regarding mobile internet and internet services. Let's pause for a moment, shall we, to look at this Belarusian, what is that, a goose? This is in Komsomolskaya Pravda. And from birds to birthdays, Vladimir Lenin was born 156 years ago today. Komsomolskaya Pravda asks various people, what would you ask Lenin if you could? One academic replies, Dear Vladimir Lenin, if you were in power today and in possession of the Poseidon underwater nuclear weapon delivery system, would you risk using it against Britain to counter its anti-Russian scheming? Charming. Then there's this bizarre article in which the reporter does ask Lenin questions via a psychic, a medium called Anna. Lenin allegedly tells the reporter that I will lie in my mausoleum as long as I have to. He blames Mikhail Gorbachev for losing the country, but the USSR won't be coming back. According to Lenin, you can't bring back the dead, he says. Although Komsomolskaya Pravda clearly believes that you can chat to them. Just to point out, this wasn't the joke section of the newspaper. This is the joke section. Life is wonderful. Not yours, of course, but even so. One joke from yesterday's edition. Russia's tourism ministry has warned tourists in Egypt about sharks. Egypt's tourism ministry has warned sharks about Russian tourists.